Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Environment Committee for Tuesday, May 22nd. And the agenda, the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda has been approved. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Were there any changes or corrections that anybody saw?
No, I'll move the minutes, Chair. Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes have been approved. We move to the business section of the meeting, and the first item under business is 2018-130. And this is a same week item, and it's a sole source procurement for motors and drivers for effluent pumps. Welcome. You are Charles Lapierre.
Yes, Madam.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, committee members, Charles Lapierre. I'm here to present on business item 2018-130SW. The objectives of this proposed item is the repair and refurbishment of our compressor aeration motors and our effluent pump motors and magnetic drives. The drivers for this is OEM expertise, OEM parts availability. Competitive vendors have been unable to meet the ISO specifications. Electric motors are critical to the MCS processes. Outcomes would be system availability, the age of equipment, to bring it up to current standards and efficiencies, establish equipment conditions to meet process needs, and proactive defect elimination by adding current vibration analysis equipment and motor condition monitoring equipment. The drive lens analysis stewardship is financial resources invested efficiently and effectively to maintain assets protecting the region's natural resources. The proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to award and execute a sole source procurement contract in the amount not to exceed $1,500,000 over a 5-year period from May 2018 to April 2023 with WEG Electric Corporation to provide original equipment manufactured parts and services for EM motors, 900 horsepower, 5,500 horsepower, and Reddergun eddy current drives used at the Metropolitan Council wastewater treatment plants.
Thank you. Are there questions?
Questions?
Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are they is the long timeline for this because they're going to take them one at a time to make service disruption be minimized?
Madam Chair, Council Committee members, yes, the long-term 5 years, they're a critical part of our process. We can only afford to take one out at a time to have them serviced and maintain our processes.
Okay.
And how many motors will be all of them?
We have 7 aeration compressor motors, and we have 6 effluent pump motors.
And all 13 will be
refurbished over the course of 5 years.
It's a lot of work. Other questions, concerns? If not, the motion is a mouthful. Do you want to put it back up again? Can you flip back to the motion?
I don't know what
That's fine. I would move approval, Madam Chair.
Okay. We have a motion to approve.
Reynoso seconded it.
And we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ready to go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you for coming. The second item on the agenda is 2018-132, and this has to do with lift station L73 roadway easements, and Karen is with us. Hi, Karen.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and council members. The business item in front of you is for the sale of 2 permanent easements on Metropolitan Council-owned property, the site of lift station L73 in the city of Woodbury. One of those parcels will be sold to the city of Woodbury to allow for the widening of Woodbury Drive, and the second parcel will be sold to Tradition Development to allow secondary access to their new development. The city purchase is shown in blue on the east side of our property. This will facilitate the widening of Woodbury Drive from a 2-lane road to a 4-lane road. The developer purchase is the easement shown in green to the north, on the north side of our property. This will provide secondary access to Woodbury Drive from their new development. The developer purchase would be converted to public right-of-way by the developer and granted to the city eventually. Met Council will continue to access the L73 facility from the newly dedicated public right-of-way. Looking at this through our Thrive lens, the Thrive principle of collaboration meets this project. It's the sale of the property will allow the city and the county to meet the development needs of the region. Also, the Thrive outcome of stewardship. The sale of this property will generate financial resources that will be invested efficiently and effectively to maintain and restore existing wastewater infrastructure, which protects our region's natural resources. So the proposed action today is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes its general administrator to proceed with the sale of 2 permanent easements along the northern and eastern boundaries of the property located at 4850 Woodbury Drive within the city of Woodbury to the adjacent property owner and the city for a combined amount equal to no less than the appraised value of $107,925.
Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Latowski?
Thank you. So according to the map, we're selling property through which the interceptor runs and that we access the lift
Easement.
station. So is it going to impact those?
Madam Chair and council members, the property that's being sold will be sold as easement, so we will retain the underlying ownership. We are working with the developer and the city with the roadway plans to assure that it doesn't impact our facilities, or if there is any change in grade that we would require them to raise a manhole or something so we'd be able to access our facilities.
So the widening of the road is not going to impact the interceptor.
Madam Chair and council member, that's correct.
Any other questions? Councilmember Wolf?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a question. I have a comment. I'm always thrilled when we're on the selling side of easements rather than the buying, so I would move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. That the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to proceed with the sale of 2 permanent easements along the northern and eastern boundaries of the property located at 4850 Woodbury Drive. And I'll leave the rest for people who have the print before them. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. Thank you. The next item on the agenda has, and this is the new item that was added, has to do with the St. Paul Beltline Interceptor, and Karen is going to walk us through this one too.
That's correct, Madam Chair and council members. This business item has to do with the St. Paul Beltline Interceptor project. This project will rehabilitate condition 4 and 5 pipe, gravity interceptor pipe, that's poor and critical condition pipe in the city of St. Paul. That's shown in dark blue on this map. The project is just downstream of the 2014 emergency project that occurred at the intersection of Johnson Parkway and Phelan Boulevard. That's shown in orange. This also follows the 2017 rehabilitation project at Phelan Park, which is shown in yellow. So basically this entire interceptor system where we have condition 4 and 5 pipe is being rehabilitated. Site 1, the northerly site, will line approximately 2,350 linear feet of 54-inch and 60-inch interceptor pipe from Case Avenue to Minnehaha Avenue using cured-in-place pipe technology to rehabilitate 4 manholes and to construct a new manhole around that stretch. At Site 2, the southerly site, this will line approximately 4,900 linear feet of 60-inch to 72-inch diameter pipe using cured-in-place pipe technology. We'll be rehabilitating 12 manholes and associated structures. This alignment generally follows Highway 61 and Warner Road, just south of Interstate 94. The engineer's estimate for this project was $12,201,066. We received 3 bids that ranged from $10,764,386.25 to $11,618,004.50. The second and third low bids were deemed unresponsive. The disadvantaged participation goals of this project were 6% minority business enterprise and 6% women-owned business enterprise. Geislinger and Sons were deemed as the low responsible bid at $10,764,386.25. They also, Office of Equal Opportunity, found that they met the good faith effort towards disadvantaged participation goals. The Thrive analysis on this project is the outcome of stewardship. Public financial resources will be invested efficiently and effectively to maintain the existing wastewater infrastructure, which protects our region's natural resources. The proposed action today is that the Metropolitan Council authorize its regional administrator to award and execute a construction contract for project SPIS 8566-370 and 7705 rehabilitation, MCES project 808821, contract number 17P355 with Geislinger and Sons, Inc. for their low responsible bid of $10,764,386.25. Be
Thank
happy
you,
to
Karen.
entertain any questions at this time.
Are there questions? Do we have an idea of when this project work is going to begin?
Madam Chair, as soon as notice to proceed, which we would anticipate for sometime in the month of July, construction would start on Site 2. That's the Warner Road Highway 61 site. And they'd set up using temporary conveyance pipe, getting that installed, and then they'd be able to start on lining the pipe itself and then starting work on some of the structures along that alignment.
Will this project interfere with Warner Road or the highway?
Madam Chair, the temporary conveyance pipe generally follows within the median of Highway 61 south of Interstate 94. It also follows the northerly side of Warner Road, so traffic impacts will be really minimal for this project.
Excellent. Other questions, concerns? If not, is there a motion to accept the
Madam
bid?
Chair, I'll move the proposed action.
Thank you, so I don't have to read it, right? Thank you, Councilmember Wolf. Is there a second? We have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you,
It was
Madam
very
Chair.
efficient.
And council members.
We move to the information portion of the meeting, and we have with us today Ali El Hassan, and he's going to give us a briefing on our water supply planning. Hi, welcome, Ali.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. So the presentation today is about the implementation of the Master Water Supply Plan that was approved and adopted by the Council 3 years ago. So we want to, we were thinking this is the year that we want to evaluate what we have been doing over the last 3 years since the approval of the Master Water Supply Plan, and how this will help us shape what will be the future activities that we are going to take into kind of a checklist. We are going through a checklist, what we have been doing and what we can do much better into the future. The Master Water Supply Plan was a collaborative, inclusive effort, resulted in approval of the plan in 2015. All the communities in the metro area has a chance to participate. The Met Council created a community technical group that helped the uh, the uh, the approval process for the master water supply plan. And the plan set a regional framework with local input and local implementation, um, empowering all the communities to take charge of how they want to implement the master water supply plan and how they can customize that to their needs and their abilities in achieving some of these goals and some of these strategies. Um, we were really flexible with the communities in seeing how they can support the sustainability goals mentioned in the plan through their through these meaningful strategies and through their engagement and how they can implement that on the ground at their local level. So one of the strategies that the plan is calling clearly is collaboration, how we can be a facilitator in the region for collaboration, how we can convene groups, how we can move goals through the collaboration. And a big part of this collaboration framework for us is the MOSAC, the Metro Area Water Supply Advisory Committee, and the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee for MOSAC. Between those two committees who are advisory to Met Council, we have 33 members. MOSAC mainly is agencies, municipalities, counties, and one of the interesting things about MOSAC, it's include 4 of the neighboring counties to the north of the metro area because we share some of the resources with them, whether that's the Mississippi River or the aquifers that extends beyond the metropolitan area. In the Technical Advisory Committee, the committee consists of a group of experts in different subjects that relate to water supply, and also practitioners. The group is more than half of the group are members of municipalities, public work directors, and city engineers, and the rest of them uh, there is the representation from University of Minnesota, and there is consultancy who are participating into that group. They have been doing a lot of great work over the last 3 years, and they're taking their advisory role significantly. And as we might know, when we came back in 2015 for the adoption of the master water supply to this committee, the legislature changed the way that the plan is approved in 2015, including that the plan should be approved by MOSAC first before it comes to the council. And since that time, the MOSAC members, they have been more engaged they are owning the plan, and they are trying to improve the implementation of this plan. They have been also very engaged in supporting Met Council requests from the Clean Water Fund. This year, early in January, actually last year in December, the two committees sent a letter to the Clean Water Council in support of the Met Council request. That's for the 2 programs that we get the funding from the Clean Water Fund for our 2 programs. And that letter was well received by the Clean Water Council, and actually it provided a lot of significant input for the 10 years plan from the Clean Water Council. The Clean Water Council was planning for 10 years funding goals and funding objectives, and MOSAC and TAC, both of them provided input into that process. But as you know, we are dealing with about 126 communities, water suppliers in the metro area, 186 communities. And we saw there is an opportunity to activate an effective platform for collaboration at a lower level. Yes, we have 33 members for both MOSAC and TAC, but we wanted to reach more of at the sub-regional level. And we wanted to empower communities to act at that level of sub-regional level to choose and implement master water supply plan strategies that work for them locally. And we were able to create at least we have now 8 active water supply working groups that has 68 members of the communities in the metro area. And this is a voluntary effort, and Met Council role is facilitating, convening, and providing support for those communities. Just to give you an idea, the Southeast Metro, which is mainly Dakota County communities, their main strategy that they are interested in implementing is water conservation. They see that there is a lot of communities who are growing communities, and they can do better with water conservation, water efficiency, improving their water efficiency, and that's what one of the things that the communities thought about, and they decided they want to see how they can implement the strategies and practices that help them achieve their sub-regional goals that they determine on their own. It's a little bit different for West Metro. West Metro, they have water quality issues. So the first area they started thinking about is how we can regionally work to advance wellhead protection at a regional level, or at least sub-regional level, rather than individual levels, because their wellhead protection plans are overlapped. So many times communities, they have their wellhead protection is in a jurisdiction other than their own jurisdiction. And so they need to talk to their neighbors so that they can have a better understanding of what kind of land use activities happening in that section of the other city. And so that's one of the biggest ideas and the biggest things that they want to pursue into the future, how they can regionally work together so that they can improve the wellhead protection planning for that subregion. When we look at the Northwest and Washington County subregional groups, both of them, they wanted to look into potential alternative water supplies. Washington County, actually, they were looking into a reuse of 3M water. As you might know, 3M pumped groundwater to maintain contaminants from spreading and discharge that into the Mississippi River. Communities into that area started looking into potential for how they can reuse that water. And that was part of the study that we finished with communities in the north in Washington County about a year ago. For the Northwest, communities are gathering together. 3 at least we know at this point that they want to investigate the potential for using Mississippi Water River instead of groundwater. And so these communities are putting together the logistics for collaboration among themselves, the legal bindings and the legal agreements, and they are asking Met Council to be the convening, the facilitator for that sub-regional group. So each one of these groups, they have their own ability to achieve the sustainability goals on their own terms and strategies. So we stopped and we were asking those communities how they feel about their participation into the sub-regional groups. Is there any benefit you see in those? And so we try to measure how successful we are. Since the approval of the Master Water Supply Plan, 14 communities were added to sub-regional groups. So when we were approving the Master Water Supply Plan, we have 45 communities only. We have six groups. Now we have 8 active groups. And they are really active. Our staff spending a lot of their time just to manage the meetings for those groups. The members, they valued the participation, and what the biggest thing for them, the biggest return on their time invested in these groups is how they share knowledge among each other. A good example, last week, 2 weeks ago, we were in West Metro, and the first thing that someone from one of the cities stood up and said, I am very grateful for this group because I didn't know about a funding opportunity from the Department of Health if I'm not sitting in this group. And that's the shared knowledge that they are talking about. They are talking about also how they manage their systems and how they can learn from each other on how to manage their systems of delivery, pumping, and all of that. So there is a big advantage for them sitting together in one room and talking about these, how they can work together and how they can learn from each other. When we ask them in a survey, what do you like Met Council role to be? The biggest two things most of the group sent to us is technical support as well as facilitation of those groups. And so many of these communities, as you might know, they don't have enough technical staff in their staff, and they would like to get more of the technical abilities provided to them by the Met Council. So the second strategy that was specifically mentioned in the master water supply plan is water efficiency and increasing water efficiency and water use efficiency in the metro area. And one of the goals in the master water supply plan is to reduce residential water use from 95 gallons per person per day to 75 gallons per person per day. And that's what actually the Department of Natural Resources is encouraging people. So we took that as a goal in the master water supply plan. And that's an average. You might know that there is a lot of communities who are well below the 75 gallons per day per person. But there is other communities who are at 200 gallons per person per day in the metro area. And so it's how we can work with a messaging to all of these different communities and how to work. One of the areas that we try to understand is the issue of outdoor water use. Outdoor water use in the metro area is about 35% of the water used annually. And if you think about that, it's all of that water is used in the summertime. And we tried also to understand how to relate that increased amount of water used to the ratio of water use in winter versus summer that we see every year. On average, the amount of water used in the metro area is in the communities in the metro area is 3 times the amount of water used in winter. In some communities, that could rise to 7 times. So there is one community that use 3 wells in winter. Comes the summer, they are using almost 19, 20 wells. So we would want it to understand what's the drivers behind the high use, and we tried to work with the University of Minnesota Extension Services and to evaluate irrigation practices. We wanted to first to understand what's happening on the ground in the metro area, and we tried to do that through a survey. We surveyed 900 people in the metro area who owns irrigation systems, and the simple questions, and what we found out that 60% of the people responded. They said that they are using automatic cycle. So come the spring, they set their irrigation controller for odd or even day for irrigation for a certain period of time, and they will never check it back again until the end of the irrigation season in October. And actually, that's wasting a lot of water, as we understand at this point. But we did also 62 home assessments. The university staff went to 62 homes around the metro area in different communities from east to west and north to south. And they checked their irrigation system. And the findings were really interesting for us to know that at least they found on average 500 square foot of sidewalks and roads are irrigated. That's the least, that's on average on every house they checked. And the other thing also, they found that 50% of those houses, since they installed their system, they didn't have service for them. They didn't have an audit, they didn't have technician come and check that, and so they didn't know if they have leaking heads or not. And that was the second result that they found, that 70% of these houses have leaking heads. And they are not aware of those leaking heads in their sprinklers for a couple of reasons. They start them early in the morning, 3 in the morning. No one knows if you have a leakage in your head or heads, because in a couple of houses they found like 5 leaking heads, similar like the one that you see in that That's not actually, yeah, that's one of the leaking heads that you can see during the day. But imagine this happening at 3 in the morning. No one knows about it. All of that water is going to the stormwater drainage system. So we had a lot of findings like that. So we started working with the university in developing what will be the best management practices for irrigation into the metro area. What you guys who are, these are the experts in the region, what you advise us to do. And also they, because they, part of their business is how to best manage your irrigation system, but at the same time maintain the quality of irrigation of your lawn. And the two pictures in front of you, they just switch. They are the same type of grass. They are the same practice. They are the same irrigation controller. But the first one on your left, they check that manually. So when it rains, they stop it for a couple of days. When it's not raining, they start it again. The one on your right is on the odd, even day, every other day irrigation system into it, whether it's raining or not in the metro area. That's a cycle that many of the people in the metro area are using. And you can see this is actually a period of 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, the one on the left that used manual adjusting for your controller used 0 gallons of water. The other one used 2,700 gallons of water. And when maybe the picture is not telling the entire story here, but if you stand in that grass, they are the same quality. They look the same. They look really, both of them, they look nice. And so these are some of the findings that the university is now publishing in one of the reports that we are finalizing right now. But we are extending this work with the university to reach out to a bigger audience. We are creating what we call it a mobile lab. It's a truck that the university is going to drive around the metro area for events to teach people about how to manage their grass. And this is coming hopefully next summer. They are building that trailer for us this year, and hopefully next year they're gonna target the farmers markets, the city events like Woodbury Days, other events, White Bear Fest, the festival in White Bear Lake, and so there is all of these public events. They are going to target those to have the educational part of it. We continue working with the university also in the what we call it the Minnesota Technical Advisory Technical Assistance Program, which is a program that existed for a long time, but we added a component of how they can help industries reduce their water use. We started with one project, one intern in 2012, that the university selected an intern, sent it to an industry in the metro area, and the intern worked for 3 months with that industry, and at the end provide them with a recommendation about how they can reduce their water use and energy use. So the program was very successful. It was very popular. Actually, last year we approved 5 interns, so an increase from 1 to 5. And this year we are probably going to increase it by another 2 interns. We're going to send 7 interns. The university is going to send 7 interns to different places. And the program has become very popular. Actually, cities are asking us to send interns so that they can audit their water use in their facilities. So City of Woodbury used them for auditing all their parks and the irrigation systems in their parks 2 years ago. Last year, we have Hennepin County Medical Center asking for one of the interns so that they can do an audit for the entire building to know where they can save water. So we spent $12,000 per intern. We are providing the funding. The university manages the program. And the return on this investment is really significant. Over the last 3 years, or the last 5 years, we spent about $200,000 for this program. The industries and the entities that implemented the recommendations from those interns, they saw a saving of $1.1 million a year and 135 million gallons of water every year. So this is a very successful program, and we are very grateful for the Clean Water Fund to provide this funding for us to continue this program. And we hope that this program will continue into the future.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since this is so cost effective, are there any opportunities if a company would like to pay for the intern? Because I'm assuming the choke point is how much money we're willing to spend on interns to send out. Could a company actually say, hey, I'd like to have an intern and I'll pay the $12,000 if you can find me somebody who will do this for me?
Madam Chair, we started seeing some of that trend. Actually, there is a couple of entities who are asking that they will pay for the intern directly to the university, and the intern will go to them. There is a couple of nurseries, big nurseries, they want to do that into their operations, and so they started. After seeing all of these reports, they started seeing the benefit of having those interns, and so they would like to, they did some of that on their own, and they asked the university to do that. But we still continue our program with them. But we see an increase on the number of interns that they're going. So it's happening, and I think it's at one point we are going to see more of that.
Good question. Thank you.
So the second program that we started 2 years ago, just to implement some of the master water supply plan efficiency strategies, we tried to create this water efficiency grant program that goes to support communities to implement specific measures. And we selected specific measures based on a similar grant program that was developed and implemented by City of Edinburgh for 20 years. And over that, we sat down with them and we got their input. So a couple of advices we received from them that they didn't have a good handle of how much saving from dishwashers. So don't support that. And so we didn't go with that one. But we know from very simple calculations for toilets that's installed before 1984, they use 5 gallons per flush. All the new toilets in the market right now, or almost all the new toilets, if they are water sense, this is the EPA labeling for water efficiency, it's using 1.28 gallons per flush. And so we supported communities to install those new toilets. We also supported communities to install what they call it smart irrigation controllers. These are controllers that check the weather, check the water, the rain sensors, and connected also to soil moisture sensors, and give you an accurate requirement for irrigation. And I'm very happy that I'm one of the owners of those right now. I got mine installed last week. And since I installed it, we irrigated only one day, and I control it from my cell phone, which is a very easy thing to do. And you can set your zones on your cell phone and how to use it on that. And it checks all the weather stations around you, knowing that if there is a rain in the forecast for the next 3 or 4 days, it will delay the irrigation start. And so these are some of the things that we supported during that program. The program is very popular among the communities. A lot of the communities applied for it. We selected 19 communities, and we continue receiving requests from communities asking when this program is coming back again. So some of these results, if we try to look from a grandstand metro-wide water use, they might look very small. But when we look at the local level and the local impact of these programs and these water efficiency programs, they are making a significant local impact. The good example of City of New Brighton, they have 3 old apartment complexes, and they changed about 277 toilets in the last year. They saved in those 3 apartments 7 million gallons of water annually. These are only 3 apartment complexes. And the apartments, they saved $19,000. So those are some of the impacts that 7 million gallons for one city. It's a significant amount of water, and especially for a specific apartment complex. Another effort, and this is an effort by our the other group in the metro area in the Metropolitan Environmental Services, the Water Resources Group. The Water Resources Group provided grants for stormwater management. Over the last 3 years, they provided almost $3 million for implementation of best management practices for stormwater. Half of that money goes for water reuse projects, stormwater reuse projects. There is so many of those projects in different communities now. A lot of them are implemented. The anticipated water saving from these programs are 50 million gallons per year. So another group in the MCES is helping us to achieve our goal in water supply. And this is how we are integrated in working with each other in such like these activities. So what's the overall result of this effort? I think our effort is significantly increasing the awareness of the citizens of the Twin Cities of the importance of water and water use. Over the last 5 years, we saw a significant drop in the water use. The average water use in the last 5 years is less by 17 million gallons a day than the 5 years before that. Although we have 2012 and 2013 were dry years, but the last 3 years are really wet years. That's helping us a lot. But we think that there is a lot of communities who are engaged and taking actions on their own. A good example of that, City of Woodbury. City of Woodbury, they looked into the water rates analysis that we did a couple of years ago, and they took the water rate and they changed their water rates. So they increased the amount that they charge for the higher users, and they use that same money to create a grant program that they can provide for irrigation controllers for the citizens of the city. So that action in itself, and this became a very popular program because I live in City of Woodbury, so I know that they bought irrigation controllers in bulk, and they put it for $20 for the citizens they sold it for $20. And the first day they put that announcement, I think about 1,000 people applied, and all of them gone in one day. So they have to reapply again, and I think it's in the third iteration of applications. People wants to get that because they think it's a very good deal for them, and it's a very good deal actually. Yes, Madam Chair.
So Ali, when I'm studying your map, and I had the graph, I had the benefit of seeing this the day before. If I understand this correctly, we're back down to, let's take the gray one, to 300, what is it? 300 million gallons per day.
That's correct.
The last time we were at that was in the 1990s. And that's
correct.
in spite of population growth.
That's correct, Madam
So
Chair.
this is far more impressive than it looks.
And also, since the 90s, we have a lot of the efficient devices installed per houses. As you know, that Excel Energy itself, they are doing a lot of these efforts because reducing water use means reducing energy use. And so there is a lot of awareness have been increased over the last, I would say, 7-8 years about water issues in Minnesota and in the metro area. And people are installing those devices on their own. I know a lot of people that they go on their own and buy an efficient washing machine or an efficient controller or replace their toilets on their own, even if their city doesn't have any rebate program.
Mm-hmm.
So we still have challenge, and most of our challenge in our unit is about funding. The main source of funding for our unit is Clean Water Fund. Our share of Clean Water Fund is getting smaller and smaller And we are the smallest entity that receive clean water fund. We receive only about 1% of the money available every year. And most of that money is going to communities through grant programs or through the studies or collaborative efforts and projects. Uh, we keep only 35% for our staff to manage these projects. 65% of the Clean Water Fund is going to communities, and 100% of the grant program that we created for water efficiency goes to communities. And so this is an every other year struggle that we need to go through to get that funding. There is limitations for use of that funding. I cannot use that funding for planning activities, for regional planning or local planning, support of local planning. So when our staff are receiving the comprehensive plans for review, which has a part of it is water supply, we cannot use that funding for that activity. The Met Council provide $100,000 for that activities every year, which is not sufficient for us to do our activities with regard to planning. We used to receive state general fund, and actually it was a one-time appropriation to support us coordination of the MOSAC and TAC, because MOSAC, the 2015 legislation increased the number of members of MOSAC and add TAC to it. They didn't specifically give us money for running those two and coordination for those. And those two committees, they meet every other month. So 6 times times 2 and 12 meetings for both of those committees. So just having those meetings and preparing for those meetings and the time our staff is preparing for those meetings is not paid by the Clean Water Fund. We cannot use the Clean Water Fund for doing that. And so we are using the council funding for that. And in the last biennium, the grant program was zeroed out in the last minute in the legislature. So communities lost the $500,000 that we received from the Clean Water Fund for providing grants for the water efficiency. Hopefully, the next biennium, we are going to ask for $1 million, and hopefully we'll get that to pass through to the communities. So these issues are the daily issues that we're dealing with in our unit, and hopefully we'll have some solutions for it into the future, thinking about it. These are some of the areas that the MOSAC and TAC communicated to the legislature last year, that these are the future work that need support from the legislature. And this is a report that was sent to the legislature last year in March. The 4 areas are funding, efficiency and water use, how to support that, how to reach workable solutions, and how to collaborate for better results. These are the high level, and under each one of those, there is a lot of things that's going under that, but we'll keep it at that level. So we are hoping that you can support the water supply planning to support our sustainability in the region. Please, if you have any questions about our funding and if you have any ideas of how you can help us with our funding, please contact me or contact Lisa. And connect with MOSAC and TAC. We have 33 members of MOSAC and TAC representing different counties, representing different municipalities. If you have a chance, please connect with them. The next MOSAC-TAC meeting is actually tomorrow from 1 to 4 p.m. This is a joint meeting between them. So this is a good opportunity to have both of them in one place, meeting with them tomorrow from 1 to 4 p.m. And they're going to talk about their work plan for 2018-2019. The third thing is to support our sub-regional groups. And I know some of you attended some of those sub-regional meetings, and your presence there is very helpful for us for a couple of reasons. There is a different levels of representation of cities in those sub-regional groups. Mostly they are technical representation, and some of them they have elected officials. And many of the times we see that the technical staff, they need support to talk to their elected officials in the city. And hopefully we can see how we can help them in doing that. Met Council is not doing anything at this point to breach that gap between the technical staff and the elected officials at the city level. And hopefully that will be something that we can think about into the future. And again, the last thing I would ask you or hope that you will help support us, if you have an irrigation controller, consider replacing that with a smart irrigation controller. Thank you very much. I have a short video I would like to share with you, and I will take questions after that. Since it's
My name is Sam Bauer. I'm an extension educator at the University of Minnesota here. I work in lawn care and turfgrass management. I spend a lot of time in my current position defending the place of lawns and grasses in our environment. A large percentage of our urban landscapes have lawns that act as an erosion control, filtering groundwater, and some of our water recharge. There's a lot of value in lawns, but we need to manage them appropriately. Over 40% of homeowners that have irrigation systems in the Twin Cities operate them on an every other day program from April to October. Every other day. In the Twin Cities, we get 35 inches or more on average in a year of natural rainfall. That volume specifically is more than sufficient to provide the amount of moisture for your lawn. Irrigation is meant to be a supplement, not the sole water source for your lawn. Average homeowner with an irrigation system irrigates about 500 square feet of impervious surface. So that's driveways, sidewalks, streets and roads that are being watered. We're effectively taking our groundwater, pulling it out of the ground, putting it on impervious surfaces and sending it downstream. You have really two good options today to manage your water effectively. Manual operation, that is the system is normally off. When your lawn gets dry, you turn it on, let it water through that cycle and turn it back off again. That, in my mind, is the best way to manage your irrigation system. We have smart irrigation controllers now. A lot of cities might have a rebate if you buy a smart controller as well. They're very user-friendly to install, and there are a lot of options out there, but most of them would be connected to Wi-Fi. They would link up to a local weather station, and they would adjust the irrigation programs based on the weather. Water is a precious resource, even in the land of 10,000 lakes here in Minnesota. Very, very important to be sure we're not abusing that water. And I think, quite frankly, if we can use more smart irrigation technology, homeowners stand to save a lot of money from that technology as well.
So Ali, is that the film they're bringing to all these city fairs and festivals?
That's part of it, Madam Chair. They are creating a trailer with different types of grass and different types of irrigation controllers so that they can show to the people in public places that, the citizens, communication with the citizens directly of how this is easy to use controller versus and how it will save you money and sharing the information at those fairs and festivals around the metro area.
Terrific. Council members, questions? Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've bragged before that I don't have an irrigation system in my yard, and I'm proud of that. But I do have a beautiful lawn, and it is possible to do, but you have to be strategic. The other thing that's missing from all of this discussion is of being strategic on when you mow and how long you leave your grass, depending on what the weather is like. I mean, people are now really starting to look at these things because water is getting more expensive for the ones that just crank on the. But I mean, you don't have to use a lot of water, and you can still have a very nice lawn. So thank you for helping to get the message out.
Councilmember Reynoso.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I do not just turn it on and let it go. I'm one of the, in the map area, I'm one of the areas in white that, in Ham Lake, that obviously aren't involved. But the other thing that, Ali, that this kind of misses and doesn't really talk about is there's a lot of, getting your grass to grow properly with less water is important, but it also depends on what type of soil you have that impacts how much water you need. So I am very conscientious. I water my lawn 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I religiously am going after my heads to make sure that they're working properly. And it's a long battle. So
And thank you, Madam Chair. Both of you council members, you made really good points. And we have a longer version of this video that talks specifically about how to handle your soil in addition to mowing heights. I will send it to Susan so that she can circulate that video, which is a 5 minutes video of how to manage effectively your lawn from sodding and establishment until you have a lawn that's healthy and continue to the future, including mowing heights, including if you have a different type of soil, especially you are in Anoka County and
Sandy.
that's a sandy soil, so how you can deal with that. And so there is a lot of advices that this group have created for us. The report that they created is really a good report. It's a very easy read. It helps a lot of. We know that we send it all around to a lot of the cities, and they like it very much.
Other questions, comments? Well, thank you, Ali. It's good to get a catch up on what we've been doing and that there is an impact. And obviously, there's still a lot to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And thank you to the whole staff. I mean, see you sitting out there, and you all do just admirable work to get these things done. So handling all those meetings is no easy task either, having been at a number of those. So thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity to visit about these things. Now we would go to our general manager's report.
Real short item, you know that our workforce is aging and we've got a lot of turnover, so we've got some young leaders that we want to get a good start to. And last year we were in a pilot program for Region 5 through NACWA of developing leaders, and this is their second year, and last week we got to host their graduation. There was 20 participants. We had, it's Region 5, so it's Chicago, Milwaukee, Racine, Madison, and Green Bay that are participating, and there were 20. We had 5 grads. And I got to speak to the class the day before. So they came here, they go to the different facilities and have their training sessions. So their training session was here, and then the next day they graduated. So on their last day, I got to speak to the group and spend a little time with them. And it's just amazing to see these young leaders and how energetic they are and wanting to do good stuff for water, and the strength that's coming out of these networks of having spent 5 different sessions at each other's facilities, finding out, what are their challenges and successes, and you could just see a bond that had developed with them that I think will support their success going forward, because it's always nice to call up another utility and ask them if they've experienced something before that you might be, and see what their experiences could tell you. So it was kind of nice to see that happen last week.
Great. Well, is there anything else to come before the group? Then I will adjourn this meeting.